What is up, guys? Rick Big Guns Kackis here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we are going to be taking a closer look at a game changer, a brand new weapon that is doing things that no other weapon within its gun type can do. Now, let's get started. That weapon is going to be one of the brand new Seventh Seraph weapons. These came with Destiny 2 Season of the Worthy, and they're being trickled out over a pretty prolonged period of time. Every time a new bunker is unlocked, and currently we have the EDZ bunker that was initially unlocked, and then the Moon bunker, which was just unlocked, we have a new one of these Seventh Seraph weapons available to acquire via a bounty associated with that bunker. There's also two Seventh Seraph weapons that are available within the Season's Pass, and the reason I'm talking about these guns as a group is because all of them are capable of using the brand new seasonal mods that create warmind cells. That is an extremely powerful feature, and if you haven't seen yesterday's video talking about just how crazy warmind cells can get with the proper build, you definitely want to see that. But today, we're focusing on the Seventh Seraph SAW. Now, this is actually the brand new machine gun that is supposed to become available once you've unlocked all of the different bunkers and their respective weapon bounties. So, how am I using it? Well, it turns out if you rank up your Season's Pass like crazy and get to rank 92, it gives you the ability to buy the daily rotating weapon. And that daily rotating weapon will include the hand cannon and the machine gun, which aren't available in any other ways. So, I was able to get one Seventh Seraph SAW. You can only buy one per day, and I was just blessed by RNG to get a roll with firing line. This is what makes this weapon special. So it states this weapon deals increased precision damage when near two or more allies. And this is the first time ever that this perk is available on a machine gun. Previously, it started back with Season of the Drifter being available on a sniper rifle. And every sniper it's been on has been absolutely top tier for PvE. So what can this perk do for a machine gun? Well, let's test it out. So, as you can see right here, against this ogre, I'm hitting 1,703 damage for a precision shot. I get my teammates to come over and you can see firing line activate in the corner of my screen. Now, I'm hitting for 2,051 damage. This is almost exactly 20% more damage. So a 20% damage buff for specifically precision shots just by being near two teammates. And I mean, that's great. But how does it compare in a practical sense to other machine guns in terms of damage output? So what we're going to do is use the Actium War Rig exotic chest piece, which is going to automatically reload my machine guns so I don't have to worry about reloading. It's just damage output, and I'm going to see how fast it takes to take down this simulated ogre within the menagerie. All of the machine guns I'm using are exactly 1,000 light, so there's no, issue there. And with the firing line SAW, as you can see, I'm able to take this guy down in 11.5 seconds. Now, the ogre does bounce around a bit, so I made sure to do it twice every single time with every single machine gun. The second time, it was much closer to 11 seconds. So that's with firing line active. Now let's take a look at the fixed odds. This is the menagerie machine gun that exists in the exact same damage archetype, but it doesn't have firing line. I could have just had my teammates step aside, but that's beside the point. This does it in 12.7 seconds, and the second time I did it in 13 seconds, just over. So clearly a huge advantage in terms of firing line versus no firing line, but we knew that. But let's move on to another archetype, specifically the Hammerhead. This is the 450 RPM machine guns, and this is capable of taking down the ogre in 12.2 seconds. So a lot better there, closer to our damage output, but not quite there. The second time, it was even closer at 11.9 seconds. So if this archetype ever gets firing line, that is going to be insane. But still, we have the best damage output with firing line. There's one more archetype out there, and that is actually the 900 rounds per minute archetype. Very rare, but I tried to use the edgewise. It actually ran out of ammo. I had to reload, so I switched to the 21 delirium because of overflow, and as you can see, even that was a little over 12 seconds both times. The weirdness though is that the 21 delirium will kind of like kill the enemy, and then it'll start ramping up in damage with killing tally, but it'll still be doing damage, like the enemy won't be dead yet. Kind of similar to the fourth horseman, where there's some weirdness with how much damage you're dealing. So maybe without that glitch, this would kill faster, but as it stands now, it's still going to be the SAW with firing line has the best DPS for any legendary machine gun in the game on a base level. Of course, if I trigger killing tally ×3 with the delirium, or I get rampage with some of the other weapons and stuff like that, they'll start doing more DPS. But especially when we're talking about a boss phase, that is not always going to be an option. Having two teammates nearby is much more practical. So, that's how it performs in a test environment, but how is it in the wild? Well, I went out and did some activities, and this thing performed actually pretty decently. The thing is, machine guns are actually able to benefit from this ammo economy quite a bit. Like, just a finder brick was something like 38 rounds, and 38 rounds on such a heavy-hitting machine gun is a big deal, and that's kind of another factor that makes this weapon interesting. Although we're mainly talking about boss DPS, and although that's clearly where firing line's main benefit lies, you're doing more precision damage to anything you shoot at. So thralls, knights, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're all going to get hit with a bullet doing 20% more damage, and that can make the difference. Again, especially with such a chunky, slow shooting, high damage weapon like the SAW, its archetype is the highest damaging archetype for machine guns. You're capable of, with firing line active, one-shotting a lot of enemies out there. So you're basically having a hand cannon with, 40 plus rounds in a magazine, infinite rounds in a magazine if you're using the Actium War Rig, which I'm still using because it's just a blast to use, and you're just trucking every single, red bar, every single baseline enemy out there. And if you do encounter any sort of majors, you kill them in absolutely no problem. There was several times where we encountered those big chunky enemies where firing line is going to matter, and, it wasn't that insane. Like, let's be honest here, this is not trucking out as much damage as the Whisper, as even the Xenophage, but of course, the Xenophage is an exotic. Taking up your exotic slot is a huge deal. If we can do even similar damage with a legendary, that's miraculous. But those type of weapons are capable of inflicting massive amounts of damage. This isn't quite there yet. But, if you're using a sniper, that's not very good against your normal adds. That is not very good against red bars at all. Same thing for the 1K voices. Same thing for a lot of the other damage outputting weapons out there, whereas a machine gun is great at clearing the normal ranks of adds. And one of the benefits is that when you do use it against the bigger enemies, that constant damage, like you're never really reloading because of Actium, but you're just inflicting that consistent damage, you often stun lock enemies. Like, you'll see that a lot in the background gameplay, is that you just get that stun lock. They keep, going back and not being able to attack you back. That's a big deal too. And you know what? I've kind of skipped over Actium and just said, oh, it's a cool thing to use, but it's more than just cool. Actium War Rig, an exotic chest piece for the Titan, will consistently reload your auto rifles and machine guns. Now, this actually became a lot more powerful when Shadowkeep was introduced and infinite reloading went away. So now, when you're DPSing with any weapon out there, except for the Whisper, you're going to have to reload, and every time you do, your DPS is going to tank. That's why having really high reloading mods and, Lunafaction boots and all of that stuff is super, super important to keep your damage up as high as possible. Now, Actium War Rigs basically makes your machine guns and auto rifles act like they did when infinite reloading was a thing. That's why I mentioned the Xenophage in passing, but the Xenophage right now, specifically combined with a bunch of Titans and Actium War Rigs, is capable of one-phasing some of the raid bosses in Garden. Like, it's really powerful, that combo. And although, again, this is not outputting the same damage as Xenophage, it's coming closer than any other machine gun out there. And being able to completely eliminate reloads within a damage phase is kind of nutty. Now, you may be wondering, what kind of perks should I be looking for? Well, I think firing line is absolutely key. Now, this can actually get Vorpal weapon instead of firing line, but very importantly, Vorpal provides a 15% damage bonus against bosses, and firing line is 20% across the board. So I think firing line is clearly the better option. It literally just does more damage. Now, I did get Zen Moment, but this is definitely not what you want. You can actually get, firstly, field prep for more reserves, faster reloading when you're crouched, or I think in that first slot, you're definitely looking for Clown Cartridge, which is going to randomly overfill the magazine from reserves. So normally it has 43 rounds in a magazine. If you reload with Clown Cartridge, it's gonna have like 50 or 60, sometimes, I don't know, 80. Like, Clown Cartridge is a really, really powerful perk, and it just basically means you always have a pretty cracked extended magazine that is sometimes more extended than normal, which is gonna pair very well with firing line and mean that if you're not on a Titan rocking the Actium War Rig, you can still have a massive amount of ammo to draw from in a damage phase without reloading. So, at the end of the day, this is a pretty potent weapon. I don't think it's going to be replacing any of the current meta choices for boss DPS in PvE. However, it's the best in slot for legendary machine guns, and that is a big deal. If there's ever a patch note that comes out later that says machine guns now do plus 15% damage to PvE combatants, well, this is the best thing to use if that ever happens, and that is always a very powerful thing you want in your back pocket when it comes to weaponry in Destiny. Also, I mentioned before that this is a Seraph weapon. It works with those new mods and can create warmind cells. But it's bigger than that. This is the only heavy Seraph weapon in the game, and because they're just seasonal mods that only exist within a short period of time, it looks like this will be the only Seraph weapon in the entire game in the heavy slot. So if you ever do want to make a warmind cell build, this is the video. I hope you enjoyed it, found this informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at @RickKackis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.